Well, today for the Heritage Trust interview we have Jimmy Mullen, who was a player in the late 70s. Striker. You were signed season 76-77 by Harry Mills.
Harry Mills was the manager then, yeah.
So what made you come to Dunfermline?
At the time I had played my third season with East Stirling, and always hoping to go up to a bigger club, and the opportunity came, and Dan McClendon, who was the manager at East Stirling at the time, said that it had an offer from Harry at Dunfermline, and they were pushing to try and get promotion at that point in time. I think it was about 10 league games left. So mid-March, which was about 2 weeks before the end of March deadline for transfers, I got the call to come in, and I was a little bit further away, staying in East Kilbride. I was going to Falkirk for training, and Dunfermline was another 20-25 minutes up the road, but there was no question that I wasn't going to go for it. So I did, and it was an interesting end to the season. Sadly, we didn't quite get the promotion place, but he had Alan Evans playing up front at the time, and Roddy Georgeson, and for me it was great to join, a setup that was bigger and also try and get the push for promotion. But as I say, we didn't get there, unfortunately, and it was quite disappointing. But the interesting thing there was that Alan Evans only played another, I think he played till the second last game, and he signed for Aston Villa for £30,000, and we went, what a move that was. Aston Villa promptly took him down south, played him at centre half, and he only won the European Cup and played for Scotland. So,
that's right, yeah. Because he had started off further back, but then he had got moved up because we weren't scoring goals, don't think. Because the 70s wasn't a good period for us, really.
It must have been a difficult time, I think. And certainly when I came, it was a difficult time to play. And looking back on it, I think it was probably a difficult time for Harry, because he'd obviously been steeped in the tradition and playing in the 60s. And the frustration there was that a club like Dunfermline probably shouldn't have been in the second division, and we were just desperate to get out of it. And as I say, it was disappointing we didn't get there, but we had to regroup and then go on from there.
Yeah. When you signed, did you still see Dunfermline as a big club?
Oh yes.
Even although we were in the second division?
Definitely, without a doubt. I looked upon it, and I'm coming from the west as well, didn't know that much about Dunfermline, and I think at that time I was probably the only one that actually came from the west, but latterly, it turned out that Mike Leonard came, Sandy McNaughton and Ricky Sharp, so we used to travel together. I was the driver. I think I ended up the taxi driver. They played it, I was the taxi driver. But Harry was a good man, and I think, to be fair, I'd played quite well when Harry was at Berwick Rangers, and they had scored quite a few goals for East Stirling throughout the years I was there, so always hoping to go up a little bit.
Yeah, because as you said, they missed out on promotion that season, and then the next season, as you say, Alan Evans had gone to Aston Villa, and we signed young players, and then John Salton came in.
John Salton came in,
we had Hugh White.
Hugh was the goalkeeper.
And then they signed the young guys, Bobby Robertson and Paul Donnelly and Jim Bowie. Yeah,
Laurie Dunn I think came in at that time as well. They were just a little bit younger than us. At the time we didn't have many old players, but Walter Borthwick, myself, Kevin Hegarty came in at that time. Jim Scott, who was a real driver in the midfield, he was the Scott Brown of his day, shall we say, Jim Scott. He was a real character. But we had a nice blend of experienced players, and then for me it was great to see boys like Paul Donnelly and Bobby Robertson emerge, as youngsters coming through here. I think, just from memory, Laurie Dunn and Jim Bowie were just a little bit older than them, but I think Laurie had played at Hibs, but just didn't quite work out for him there, but they did very well here.
Yeah. And that second year, I suppose you say your first full season with us, you scored a goal at Ibrox in the League Cup.
Yes.
And the players were quite happy, even though they got beat 3-1.
Yes, a good story to that in many ways, because I worked for a company called John Lawrence Glasgow, the building company. My job was the buyer, and the chairman of John Lawrence was Lawrence Marlborough, who was also the chairman of Rangers. And on the afternoon of the game, he came along down to see me in my office. Now, normally that didn't happen. Anytime anybody went to see Mr. Lawrence, you had to go up to his office, but he appeared in our office that particular afternoon, and he said, "You looking forward to the game?" "Oh, I certainly am." He says, "But just remember who pays your wages weekly." And that was a kind of threat, again, I was born about a mile from Glasgow, and I grew up as a Rangers supporter. Absolutely delighted when we got this draw in the quarter-final, because it was a two-leg affair. And I was a bit disappointed when we turned up on the day. It was pouring rain, and Rangers didn't get particularly good crowds in those days, but it ended up, I think it was about 10,000 at the match, because we were still second division, so there was not a great attraction for the Rangers support. But I was disappointed when Harry had said to us that I was a substitute, and in those days you only had 13 players that could get stripped, so Laurie Dunn and myself were the subs. But before the match, he did say to us, he said, because it's a two-leg affair, we need to try and ensure that we're in the match for the return game, at East End Park. So the bonus for winning is £150. A draw, it's £100, and if you can keep the score to within 2 goals, it's £50. So predictably the game goes on, Rangers go 1 up, they go 2 up, they go 3 up, and the game's fittering out the last 20 minutes. So Harry threw myself and Laurie on, which was great for me to, as I say, get to play Rangers in the first team game, because I'd played at Ibrox a few times, but it was Partick Thistle reserves on several occasions I'd played, so this was me getting on, desperate to get on. And I got on, and within a couple of minutes I played a 1-2 with Roddy Georgeson and stuck it past Stuart Kennedy, 3-1. And then 5 minutes later I did the same at the bar, and of course we gave them a little bit of a fright, but the game fizzled out to 3-1 for Rangers. And of course we went in the dressing room, "Well done, Jim, we got our 50 quid bonus, is Harry going to give us it?" And he did. So that was the Wednesday, and I'm thinking, I'm in cloud 9, I've played at Ibrox, I've scored the goal, we've got ourselves 50 quid bonus, and we've still got the second leg to look forward to. So that was the Wednesday. The Saturday we were playing Stenhousemuir in the league game, and Harry reached the team out, "I'm sub again." So it didn't do me any good, and of course the following Wednesday we're here for the return game, and I'm sub again. But I think I got on that day. John Gregg was left back for Rangers, and again it was a real muddy, heavy night, and I didn't get many kicks at the ball. But that was a real special one for us.
Oh, that's good. Is there any other particular game that stands out in your memory?
Well, there's two. One which was a Scottish Cup tie against Hibs here, and I think it was over the Christmas and New Year holiday period, and the big thing to get Hibs at home again. They're a top team, we're in the second division, and the frost was horrendous that particular night, and all the games that were scheduled were cancelled, but they were hell-bent on having this game going on here. So I picked Mick Leonard up, and he said, "Jimmy, the game's not going to be on." I said, "Look, we've not any phone call to say don't turn up," so we drove up here, and there's a lot of interest because it was Hibs, and no, the game's on, can't be on. You should have seen the sand that they'd put on the pitch. It was covered in sand, and we had to play in our training shoes. And the game was played because we were just so desperate, I think, commercially, to get the game played. And plus the fact all the other games in Scotland were off, so a lot of people came. It finished 1 each. I think Mick Leonard got the equaliser, and we took the replay to Easter Road the following week, and we lost 2-0. But it just shows you how the lengths we went in those days to get games played. We'd never get away with that now. Never at all. And the pitch, that was it. It was covered in sand from January right the way. There was no grass, so there was that one. And then the final one, the best one, was the year we got the promotion, which was the night we played Falkirk here. And the reason that came about was we played all the league games, but the Falkirk game had been postponed, and it was always going to get set towards the end of the season, but the league programme had finished, and Berwick had won the league. They had a very good side, and Dave Smith was their player manager. They'd won the league, but second place was still up for grabs. And this particular game against Falkirk was rescheduled for, I think it was about 9 days after the season had finished. And we were fortunate that we only needed the draw, and they had to win. But we turned up there, and that was a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, and there was about 7,000. And they reckoned at that time that was the biggest crowd that second division had at that time. So very, very, very tense game it was, and nothing each. I think it was half time. Falkirk scored early the second half. And it's getting towards the full time, and I think maybe about 15 minutes of time we got a penalty kick, and it was a clear one because Jim Scott had hit a shot and the boy handled it on the goal line. Today he got ordered off, you know, so Andy Rowland comes up and it's well documented and he scores the goal. So pressure's off a little bit, but still tense towards the end, and I got a ball played from left to right, and I've got it to the far post. Instead of scoring, I put it into the side net. That would have made it complete, but I didn't. And true to form, a little hook in the jersey, and Harry's got me coming off. And we used to always say that at the time about my number 7 jersey with a wee hook on it. You know. But as I say, it finished up at the draw, and we got the promotion, which was a great end to the season. So that was probably the game that sticks out more. But the game against Rangers at Ibrox meant a lot to me because, as I say, the work involved.
I was here at that game, the Falkirk game.
Were you?
Yeah. And it was a bit nerve-wracking when Andy Rowland went up to take the penalty because we thought he's got to score.
Whole season's work. Season's work.
But by the end of the net.
Yeah.
So we've done an interview with him as well.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah, he looks well. And he had troubled times, I think, at the Dundee United, where he managed to get away. Yeah.
Is there anything else that kind of stands out in your time here at Dunfermline?
No, it was a short period I was here, as I say. When Sandy McNaughton came the season after that, and we were up in the first division, Sandy was probably preferred to play up front where I played, and I started to be on the bench more often than not, and it kind of fizzled out for me, which just happens, you know. But I did enjoy my time. I think it was halfway through we had a real good spell where Bobby Morrison played wide, and he was a kind of unsung hero at the time, and Bobby and I had a good relationship, and enjoyed playing with him, and Mike Leonard from Glasgow, and Mike I used to pick up, and we used to come through Kincardine Bridge, and he was a travelling companion. He was a character.
Yeah, because he scored a lot of goals.
He did. He was a larger than life character. Didn't play a lot of football, Mike, but he get the ball in around the box. I can remember one night he scored a goal at Meadowbank that I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit as hard in my life. And my father had said to me, we were going home, he said, "My goodness, John," he says, "did you see that going?" It was a wonderful goal, but I don't know where Mike went after that, but yeah, a goal scorer.
Yeah.
And everybody remembers Mike because he was like a Roy the Rovers character, you know, you remember him.
It was a hero that did it. What was Harry like as a manager then?
He was a gentleman, I've got to say. He knew stuff. He knew how to motivate you, and I think tactically he was quite astute. And those days, to be fair, I think compared to nowadays, where we get that much involved in tactics and set pieces and all the rest of it, we tend to play more off the cuff. The manager shaped you up, and you had to do your job. And of course, if you weren't doing it, he would obviously let you know. And Harry wasn't short on that either. But no, a really nice manager, a really nice man. But he enjoyed good years here, obviously, as a player too, you know, and the club obviously meant an awful lot to him. You know, but as I say, coming from the west, we were just a little bit further afield, because a lot of the boys came from Edinburgh as well. You know, so. But I did enjoy my time here, I really did.
Yeah. Who was the character in the dressing room at that time then?
Jim Scott was probably the biggest I can always remember. I mean, I wouldn't like to have played against him very often because, as I say, very much in the Scott Brown mould. Didn't take any prisoners. John Salton was a big player for us in those days as well. Walter Bothick, he was probably the most senior player that we had at the time, and Kevin Hegarty, who was a year or so older than me. Kevin did a good job for us. But in terms of character, you always knew when Scotty was about. Kenny Thompson, I can't forget him because he was a legend here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was good.
You could never run away from him.
No, he was a turn of pace.
Yes,
yeah. So who played behind you then?
Played behind the midfield, it would have been Laurie Dunn, Bobby Robertson, Jim Bowie. And there's a young boy, Andy Dixon, that came, I think he was only for a year or so, and Jim Scott. They were our main kind of midfield players. And the back four would have been Kenny, Thompson, Bonner, Mercer, Jim Meakin obviously, because Jim and I played at East Stirling, and Jim played up front with me at East Stirling, but when he came here, Harry put him as a defender, so he played alongside John Sutton, and obviously Bonner at left fullback, and there was another lad, Alec Robertson, who came a little bit later. He was a nice left-sided fullback, Hughie in goal obviously. We didn't have a big pool of players in those days. As I say, you only had the 13, so 2 subs, so the manager didn't have what they have nowadays, 18 stripped in the bench and people getting wages for nothing. But and it was good in that respect, because it meant most of the time he played. Occasionally that's what happened to me latterly, when he was taking 14 players to some of the away games and you happened to be the 14th man. That wasn't very clever. You were sitting in the stand. At least if you were stripped in as a substitute, you always had a chance of getting on. And again, in those days the players weren't just a transient either. Each club, and I can remember I was at Partick Thistle, season on season we only had 3 or 4 players in and out. But again, in those days the contract situation was different. The club obviously held your registration, so you couldn't just go. So the freedom of contract wasn't in vogue in that situation. So clubs tended to hold on to their players longer, and I think that gave them a bit more affinity with the fans. Whereas nowadays, it's incredible to think that most teams, most clubs, it's half a team every season, and short-term contracts now that were never the case years ago.
There were players at that time not quite happy to stay at a club as well.
Yes, well, they were. There was a little bit of loyalty. That's right. That's right. And again, we were obviously second division players. We were part time, so it supplemented our income, and it gave you a wee chance to think, well, if I'm going to be there for 2 or 3 years. But there was a little bit of loyalty as well. And there weren't agents in those days either.
Well, mums and dads.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the game's moved on a bit.
So, you said when Sandy McNaughton came in, that tended to be, he was played more often than you. And
yes, it kind of frittered out for me. Yeah.
Where did you go after that then?
Well, I got to the end of that season, and my time was up, and I was hoping that I would maybe get back into a club near where I stayed in East Kilbride, thinking of Clyde and these kind of teams, but it never quite happened. So I ended up, I played a year with Rob Roy at Kirkintilloch, but it wasn't for me. I saw the video you did with Kevin Hegarty, and his thoughts on junior football were exactly like mine, and my job had changed as well at that time, and I needed the security that I thought. I was very fortunate and never get seriously injured playing football, and that was me just approaching 30, and I thought I'm not really going to continue with this year. So at that point I decided just on the 30th to decide to withdraw from playing, and it was probably far too soon, I know that, but just the circumstances meant that I thought it was the right decision.
So and then did you stay in football?
No, it was actually not until Graham here's got to say he got to about 7 years of age. I had about 3 or 4 years where I did absolutely nothing, and Graham got to itchy feet at 7. He was wanting to get involved with a wee football team, which we did in East Kilbride, and of course you get roped in because you've been involved with football, and before I knew it I'd started my own little team in East Kilbride, which was great because the kids were only 8 and 9 years of age, and I learned an awful lot actually about taking kids throughout that period, and we ran that through till they were probably about 14, 15, and by that time we had a good nucleus of players, and the S-form system was pretty much in vogue then, and we had about 5 or 6 players, including Graham, who were on S-forms with clubs, and at that time I spoke to the likes of Ian Monroe, who was quite keen on 1 or 2 as well, and I thought, well, these boys have got to now go to wherever it was, and I'll just take a back seat and go and watch, because I think I've done a bit. But as I say, in the period, I learned such a lot of taking kids through the various stages and coaching them. And the coaching, it was basic coaching. It was, for me, it was all about repetitions and doing good habits and practice. So at that point, that was me. I thought I'd finished till Ian gave me a shout, Ian Monroe. I've taken over at Hamilton. I need somebody to look after the youths. How'd you like to come down and help us? So again, it's just down the road from where I stayed in East Kilbride. One night a week I took the group from between 16s and 18s that played with boys clubs and we coached, and I did that there and I quite enjoyed it until that changed, managers changed, and that was me when I'd left Hamilton. But I then got involved at Celtic because my great friend George Adams that I played with at Partick Thistle and East Stirling, George had joined Celtic and said, how would you like to come in and do a little bit of coaching and maybe a bit of scout just to keep a wee eye on things. So I got involved there, and that was an eye opener for me, getting into a big club to do something like that. But we had a little development centre at East Kilbride, which I used to have about a dozen kids in, and again it was just basic coaching, teaching them good habits, so that we were getting prepared to go into the pro youth system as it was, and I enjoyed that. And on I think the second season there, I got involved in helping with the under 13s group, which the guy called Martin Miller actually took them, but I went on Sunday just to give him a hand. And that particular group was Ian McGeady and Charlie McGrew. He was in that group, and there's a lad, Craig Reid, who played in it, who played today here for East Kilbride. So it was good that all these years later we've managed to we got Craig back to play for us East Kilbride. So again, he's 32, 33 now, So I did a little bit of that for Celtic for a little while, and then we all got the opportunity to move to Motherwell because Motherwell had changed. They brought Eric Black in as manager, Terry Butcher assistant, and George Adams went as head of youth. So I kind of followed George to again do similar at Motherwell that I was doing at Celtic, albeit 7 sides hadn't quite got kicked in then for the pro youth, but they were just starting at 12s, 13s, and George was looking after the older ones with Chris McCart, and said, look, I need somebody to look after the kids. And this is where the invaluable experience I had with very young kids early on came in, because for me a lot of people took it far too seriously, and for me they're still kids, still learning, and we enjoyed that for a year and a half. And Motherwell was a great club to be with, really were. And then we got a chance to go to Rangers, and George went in as head of youth at Rangers, and similarly he said to me, how would you like to come in here and do the thing? He said, the job's huge here. He says, come and have a we look at the younger ones, and there was some side was just about to get established then, but it was hard work because going to Murray Park after my day job, and it meant I was constantly involved, and my wife didn't see much of me at that point. So and we enjoyed that there. Again, things change, and I thought I'd done a little bit after 4 years at Rangers, and I was out of it for a little while, and then I joined St Mirren. Again, you get roped in because it never leaves you, and people always phone you up and say, what are you doing? And I really enjoyed my spell at St Mirren, the facility they've got over at Paisley, good youth set up, some good kids coming through, and then latterly East Kilbride were beginning to emerge, and on the doorstep, and the people that were mattered there said, how would you like to come and do something here? So people said to me, what are you going to do at East Kilbride? I went, I'm not really quite sure, but I had thoughts on the top end of youth going into the first team, and the club was really in its infancy. We hadn't even had the first team had only started for a year, and behind that there was virtually nothing. So I started to get involved in preparing the ground for the youths to the reserves to the first team, and again it was a complete change from working with younger ones and then going towards men, if you like, you know, but it was real football for me. So I've done that. We formed a board, and I was the director of football in East Kilbride until the summer there, and we just about got promotion a couple of years ago because Cowden Beef beat us in penalties, and Cove Rangers beat us this summer. So we're trying our best. We're knocking at the door. We're trying our best to get there, Christine. But who knows? But and today it was great to think that we're drawing against Dunfermline, and the game matters. The game matters because winner takes all. So that's the kind of journey since I've been at.
Did you have Lewis Martin?
Yes, that's what I was going to say to you. That it's been great for the last few years, scouring the papers on a Sunday morning just to find out where all the kids have gone. They were not always going to play for Rangers or Celtic or whatever, but it's nice to see that, you know, Lewis Martin, Joe Thompson. Joe Thompson was at Rangers before he went to Celtic, and it's nice to. We've still got phone calls from some of the boys who have gone elsewhere. The young boy Greg Taylor, who's just got capped for Scotland, the left back from Kilmarnock. He was in the '97 group at Rangers, and probably one of the least likely. But he was a good football player, but nobody would ever have thought he would have emerged as a Scottish international. Lewis Morgan, but Lewis Martin was an interesting character because he just. Very, very, very astute boy playing at the back, did his job, nothing fancy, very pacey, and it's great to think that he's been here a long time. He's been here a long time, but Rangers let him go, and they shouldn't have. There's another lad that they had Rangers, the boy called Murray Wallace, who left Rangers at 16, and he was the first boy I ever took into Rangers as a 10-year-old, and not flashy, but he ended up at 6'2", left-sided centre back, and Rangers let him go at 16. He went to Falkirk and did very well there, and they got 300,000 from Huddersfield Town about 6 years ago. He moved on from there to Scunthorpe, and he's now at Millwall, and he scored 2 goals for Millwall in the FA Cup last year. And it's boys like that, they've earned a living through football, and I can remember him just turning. He actually turned up at Murray Park with his heart strip.
When you see that as a coach, does it give you a bit of pride that
it's satisfaction. Yeah, it does, because I'm a great believer that no matter who you've been with, you'll always pick up something, and even people that are regarded as no very good at a job, I always feel that you'll learn something from everybody. But for me, it was all about basics and coaching and good habits, nothing too fancy at all. And I kept going back to my favourite saying is that there's too much coaching and not enough practicing. You know, kids really need to get out and play with the ball themselves. I found that expectations of parents when they played at St Mirren or Rangers, they thought that training 2 nights a week and playing on a Saturday or a Sunday was going to make them a football player. No. I remember when I was a kid, it was a ball all the time against the wall, and it was never off, never away from you. And it was practice, and that gave you all the things that you needed. 2 feet and bits of balance and all that kind of thing, you know. So, but no, in answer to your question, the satisfaction you get of actually seeing kids coming through and developing as mature men, and it's nice when you get phone calls from 1 or 2 that say you're still around.
That's good.
Yeah, and their parents. Because again, the pro youth system is throwing up expectations in parents, which you've really got to try and be realistic. You know, realistic.
Yeah. So talking about East Kilbride, what can we expect today?
Changed a bit from the squad that we had last season, which I had to do. The team that almost got us there were I felt there was maybe just 1 or 2, maybe a few that were 30 and over. We needed a bit more legs and energy into the team, so we managed to do that. But it's early stages, as it is for all the clubs through this Betfred process. They're just finding out the fitness and new players being blended in. So I think we've still got a fair wee bit of work to do. I'll find it difficult playing on the grass today because most of our games are on AstroTurf, and they did very well in the midweek against Edinburgh City, winning 1-0. And St Mirren last week was a real bonus, getting the 0-0 draw and winning and the penalties. So that was a bonus. It was a bonus, but no, there's been several players from the youth at Rangers that have come here. Nicky Clark had played, and Rhys McCabe were others that played. here. So, but no, but from our East Kilbride team, we're just delighted to actually get to play teams like this now. And my favourite story really is about 3 or 4 years ago. It was we got Stirlingshire in the cup, you know, and we just started. We were all in our second or third season, and now we're actually playing these teams and hoping to do well in them. You know, we've held our own against Cowdenbeath and Albion Rovers and Stirlingshire, and the big thing we had actually was it was 3 and a bit years ago, where we had a great Scottish Cup run. And we got to the last 16 of the Scottish Cup, and we were drawn against Celtic. The interest, and it was phenomenal, but we had to learn a lot because we were the home team, and Celtic were the away team, but they were actually very good, and they guided us through, and the SFA did as well. But we had to learn a lot about how to prepare for a big game. But like that, it's last 16 the Scottish Cup, Celtic with all the stars against us, and everybody's predicting double figures and what have you. And it was 2-0. Now, I think we got one shot at goal in the whole game, to be fair, but we came out with a lot of credit. And just beyond that, it was the following season, we actually went on a run of 30 games in a row that we won. Not just drawing, it was 30 matches that were competitive that we won. And as we were getting through the 20s, people were saying, this could be a world record. And we said no, and the interest was going up, and apparently the Ajax team of 1974, I think, had got 27 matches where they had won consecutively, and there was a little bit of interest shown there, and we got to 30, and would you believe we got Ajax sent Van der Sar over, the big goalkeeper, with a vehicle with crates of beer from their sponsor, and a beautiful big signed Ajax jersey with all the current team in it. Just congratulating us for beating their record, you know. So that was in their short history. We've only been going 5 or 6 years, but we've got the Celtic thing, which was a huge for us, and we've got the Ajax thing, and twice we'll just get pipped for the promotion. But we hope to be better geared for this season. But Celtic Hearts they've emerged as a strong group. East Stirling will be stronger this year, and we don't know what Berwick Rangers will have. So they've come down, and they're as though they're struggling. But East Stirling, this is their 3rd or 4th season down, and Dave got a chat with them as a former club, and one or two interesting discussions with the people there. But they thought, I think, you know, they thought they would maybe bounce back up fairly quickly, but it hasn't happened for them. So. But as I say, we're in our infancy at East Kilbride, and we just hope we can give a good account of ourselves today.
Good, that's good. To finish off, how would you describe your time here at Dunfermline?
Just a period of enjoyment, and looking back at the time, as I said, it was a step up for me to play with better players and a better setup than what East Stirling's was, because it was not the biggest or the best of the environments, but it gave me a start, because going there, I'd played 5 years with Partick Thistle, and always on the fringes but not quite getting there, and I was in and around the squad that won the League Cup for Partick Thistle. I played one of the early rounds, but I didn't play in the final, because Jimmy Bone and Frank Coulson were the main strikers, and as I said earlier, contract wise you couldn't just walk out or whatever. They held your registration, and probably looking back, I was 23 when I left Partick Thistle. It was a very good reserve squad, good players there, but David McParland didn't let many of them go, so I left them in the summer, and I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, and then I got a phone call this afternoon in my office. It was Alec Ferguson. I've just taken over at East Stirling. He says, can I meet you? And say, yeah, if you can. So I met him outside my office in West Regent Street. We sat in his car. He says, right, he says, I've taken over East Stirling. I finished bottom of the 2nd division last season. I've got 10 players. It's no great, I've not got much money. He says, but I think you've probably got a game every week, you know, so as it stands just now. And I listened to what he said, and I thought, well, I didn't have any other offers at the time, so I thought, yeah, we'll give it a go. And of course, I turned up for training the first night, and my pal George Adams was there, and Tom Gourley, who was a goalkeeper that was at Thistle as well. So he signed in his first week, the 3 of us that were by Partick Thistle, and it started the journey with East Stirling. And what was good for me, because he was right, I got a game every week, and I started to get a bit of prominence and scoring goals. And scoring goals, you get a little bit of confidence coming back. And at the time when it was going well, there was 1 or 2 English teams starting to take a little bit of notice. But when Alec Ferguson was only there 5 months, he was absolutely terrific. But again, a young manager, 32, but he got the offer to go to St Mirren, and I met him shortly after that, and he tried to take me, but his Stirling directors wouldn't allow it at the time. So and they signed Donny McDowell from Partick Thistle, who was virtually the same mould as me. Donny's a small striker, quite mobile, knew his way to go, good 2 feet, and they signed him for £2,000 from St Mirren. But Fergie said they wouldn't let us go. So I was knowing that I was always itching to go back up again. And at the time I formed a good partnership with Jim Meakin up front. We scored quite a lot of goals together, and but always hoping I would go back up again. And it wasn't a big step up, but it was big enough for me. And it was a good time for me, and unfortunately the way it worked out, it was the last senior club of my career, but it got me playing till I was 29 to 30, and I've been playing part-time all these years, so football was good to me. But I had a good job, so it was important that you saw that, because you set out with ambitions to be a full-time football player. When it doesn't quite happen for you, you can quite easily become disillusioned. But as I say, if it's in your blood, you still want to play at a decent level. So.
Well, it's been lovely speaking to you.
Well, thanks very much for inviting me in.
It's great, so thank you on behalf of the Heritage Trust.
Well, it's good to come back into East End Park after all these years.
Great.
Thank you very much, Christine.